Please be seated. Holiday weeks present challenges even to the church. The verger came to me on Monday and said, "What's your title of your sermon?" And I like to give titles to my sermons. I think they're good to help me focus and to give you some idea of where I'm going. So I gave him one title. It is not the title of my sermon. So what is listed in the bulletin is incorrect. It was premature. The title of my sermon this morning is Spiritual Silence, drawn from the verse in the psalm that reads, "Peace be within your walls and quietness within your towers." The lives of humans are dotted with interrupting thoughts that seize our very being. They happen to some more frequently and less for others. If we live long enough, however, we will encounter times when our minds are unable to let go of thoughts and endlessly replay events. They are often the chatter of little voices that remind us of the passing day's events or slights made by friends, families, or coworkers. These troubling voices may so unsettle us that they push aside sleep until our minds have considered the moment or words for the 50th time. These interrupting thoughts may so disrupt us, we fear them. Thus, some may keep them away by filling themselves with alcohol that spreads across the layers of their brain. Others use therapeutic means or medicine to close the door to the tower where interrupting and disrupting thoughts reside. Some become so fearful of their tumultuous thoughts that sleep looms ominously, more of a struggle than a rest. Our spiritual lives, however, require silence for growth to occur. I'm not talking about the silence found in meditation, though it is beneficial. I'm not talking about the silence that happens when praying for an extended period. I'm not talking about silent retreat weekends where no one speaks to you in the dining room. Spiritual silence does not require us to be outwardly quiet. It requires a different silence. Consider for the moment the life of a seed planted in cold, dark soil. It sits in silence. Then there's a moment, a time of harmony when the soil and water join with the seed and life breaks into motion and growth begins. Consider, too, the silent gliding of a hawk. High in the sky, riding the currents, the bird soars effortlessly on columns of warm air. Then, when it spots its prey, the hawk descends with haste to capture its meal. Consider as well the snow that silently falls upon the earth. As it comes to rest on the cold ground, it extinguishes the din of suburban life. Noises don't carry when snow falls upon snow. It is as if the earth pressed the mute button on its volume control. Spiritual silence does not eliminate sound. Instead, it modifies the noise around us until we can hear the sound we heard before we were born. In our mother's womb, we heard the timbre and tone of our mother's voice, but there was more. There was another sound that serenaded our every moment, her heartbeat. Every moment of our prenatal existence, the life-giving rhythm echoed. If it stopped, so did our life. In the sound-filled silence of the womb, we grew until our heartbeat emerged in life-sustaining harmony. But our mother's heartbeat paralleled another spiritual sound. Her pulse connected us to God's silent rhythm. All of creation hears the pulse of God. Our dogs and cats and the rest of creation listen to the sound of the melodic divine intonations that say, "All is well, grow and live." We know our pets hear the pulse of God by the way they live and rest. They nod off next to us in peacefulness, with stillness in the towers of their minds, because they hear the divine rhythm. Yes, dreams may disrupt their sleep, but most often they rest in peace and quiet. The plants, trees, water, and earth resonate with God's silent sound. They echo in divine harmony, as the Dakota's people's hymn that we sang earlier states. With God are found the gifts of life. The gifts of life come from God's silent beat. Creation hears it, but we can so fill our lives with noise and thoughts invade our mind that we no longer hear the heartbeat of God. But there are ways we can reconnect with the eternal rhythm. One way is here. Silence is the canvas on which liturgy is written. The peace and quietness of this church allows us to tune our soul to the divine pulse. The peace and quietness of this church allows us to reconnect with God. When you come into the nave, pause, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the silence of God fill you. You will hear God's rhythm telling you all is well. Grow and live. When the psalmist sings praises and praise for Jerusalem, he describes for us the gift of spiritual silence. He writes, "Peace be within your walls and quietness within your towers." In ancient times, cities were surrounded by walls to defend against rival tribes and manage the flow of people in and out of the city's gates, giving residents a sense of order and security. The walls surrounding Jerusalem were high and thick, the kind of walls not easily breached. Peace in the walls meant that the residents were safe and could go about their business. The towers were higher than the walls. Quietness in the towers meant that there were no threats outside the walls. Tower guards were not on alert. They were not rushing upstairs or yelling orders because an enemy was near. When peace and quietness existed in Jerusalem, all was well, and the people could grow and live. Spiritual silence is both peace and quietness. They work together in synergistic harmony. When we hold both in us, they feed us. We become strong and firm in faith. The kind of faith Mary and Joseph had as her pregnancy came to an end. The kind of strength that helped them travel to Bethlehem. In spiritual silence, we stand firm and are alert and aware. We hear God's rhythm, which came to earth in Jesus. Jesus' life and teaching show us the ways we can reconnect with God through spiritual silence. You may find yourself caught up in the busyness of the holidays. Let's face it, this season is an elixir, like alcohol. All the running around, the parties, the shopping, the buildup covers the fact that the sky darkens earlier and earlier. It hides us from the truth that this time of year is cold and winter is just starting. But the busyness can be exhausting. It can be overwhelming. We can manage the holiday rush and even thrive by staying connected to God. Let the nave, this place, be for you the conduit by which you ground yourself in spiritual silence, connecting yourself to God. Let the church be for you the way you may discover the gentle intonation of God saying that all is well. Grow and live. Let this place be the walls and of peace and the tower of quietness. Through spiritual silence, you may lock away those interrupting thoughts and sleep in peace while silent stars go by. With the Nicene Creed, please stand.